Hi, kindergartners. Today our job for reading class is to work with pronouns. Now that's kind of a funny word, isn't it? Pronouns. But what that really means are words that take the place of another naming word. Listen to what I'm going to say and tell me if this sounds like a confusing conversation or one you'd like to listen to. Tommy's birthday is today. Tommy got a lot of great presents. Tommy had birthday cake. Tommy was happy to hear people sing him happy birthday. Now, doesn't something sound a little bit strange about that group of sentences? I kept saying Tommy a lot, didn't I? That's why we have pronouns. I could have said it like this. Today was Tommy's birthday. He got lots of presents. So do you notice instead of saying Tommy got lots of presents, I said he got lots of presents. Okay, Betty, what was that? Yes, you're right. We did some worksheets earlier this year when we talked about those pronouns. You guys were really good at that. Remember, there would be a picture and we would decide, does the word she take the place of the bigger word here? Or does the word it take the place? I know we did like 3 or 4 worksheets one week. Every day that week we did that. Oh, so do you think that doing more worksheets about pronouns isn't how we should practice today? I think I've got an idea then. I wanted to read to you this book called Prairie Day. They're books written based on a series that Mrs. Finkel really loved growing up called Little House on the Prairie. Have some of you seen those shows on TV, those reruns? Sometimes those aren't even in color, right? They look really old. I know, but the stories are so good and you feel so good inside after you read them. I love those. Well, let's do this. Let's read the story today, Prairie Day, and then maybe we'll make some comments after we read a page that use pronouns instead of repeating the same word too many times. Let's see if that works out for us. All right, like I said, these stories are based on a series called Little House on the Prairie, and those were written by Laura Ingalls Wilder. And she didn't make the pictures for this book. Renee Grafe drew the pictures based on what the stories were saying. All right, here we go. Once upon a time, a little girl named Laura, her pa and her ma, her big sister Mary, and her baby sister Carrie, and their good old bulldog Jack headed west in their covered wagon for the prairie. The author did a nice job, didn't she? Let's pretend like she didn't use pronouns on this page. Listen to how it would sound. Once upon a time, a little girl named Laura, Laura's pa and Laura's mom, Laura's big sister Mary, Laura's baby sister Carrie, and Ma, Pa, Mary, Carrie's, and Laura's bulldog Jack headed west in Laura, Pa, Ma, Mary, her baby sister Carrie, and their bulldog Jack's covered wagon for the prairie. Whew. That was confusing. I don't even know what it's talking about anymore. So that pronoun her helped us out when it was talking about Laura. And did you notice the pronoun their? Listen to all the names it took the place of. Laura, Pa, Ma, Mary, Carrie, and Jack. All those names were all replaced with the simple word there. So now we know they're headed in their wagon for the prairie. Do you know what the prairie is? We're probably going to find out in the story. Do you have a prediction? You're right. It could come in handy if we were discussing habitats. All right. Oh, you want to tell me right now? Okay, go ahead, Oxley. You can tell me right now. Yes, it's flat lands, often grasslands, and that's a lot how the land is in the western part of the United States, isn't it? All right, good, very good. They drove through the snowy woods until they came to the town of Pepin. Pa went inside the store to trade his furs for things they would need on their journey. Pa and Laura and Mary ate bread and molasses in the wagon, and the horses ate corn from nose bags. What do you think a nose bag is? Reed, what do you think that is? Yeah, if you look at the picture, you can tell. They're little bags by the horse's nose, and they can eat their food out of there. It's kind of like a happy meal for horses. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the pronouns on this page. Well, I noticed they used the word they when they were talking about the whole family. And then listen to this story, this sentence. Pa went inside the store to trade his furs for things they would need on their journey. Did you find the pronoun in that sentence? What took the place of the word pa? Priscilla, do you know? Good, his. His is the pronoun. So instead of keep saying pa over and over again, they said his. Good. Okay, let's go ahead and turn the page. Did you get a good look at the picture though? Look at that, they're in that wagon. Soon they reached a big lake that stretched flat and smooth and white all the way to the edge of the gray sky. The horses' hoofs clop, clopped, and the wagon wheels crunched as Pa drove the wagon onto the ice. Laura didn't like it, but she knew nothing could hurt her while Pa and Jack were there. Oh, Laura felt so protected by her Pa and her bulldog Jack. A good, secure feeling, even though they were a little bit nervous. Oh, you found a pronoun? Okay, go ahead. What is it? What did you find, Mason? Yes, the word she took the place of Laura. Oh, you want to make another sentence? Okay, all right. Salvatore, what did you want to say? She was a brave pioneer. Good. So instead of saying Laura was a brave pioneer, you could make a sentence by saying she was a brave pioneer. Good job. At last the wagon came to a slope of earth, and there stood a little log house among the trees. It was a tiny house for travelers to camp in. That night, Laura and Mary and Ma and baby Carrie slept in front of the fire, while Pa slept outside to guard the wagon and the horses. Boy, her Pa is brave, isn't he? He's guarding the house so the family can sleep sound. What a good dad he's being. Okay, let's see. Let's go back here. And it was talking about the house, right? A little log house among the trees. Now listen to what it says. It was a tiny house for travelers to camp in. It would sound kind of funny if we said the house was a tiny house for travelers to camp in. We would be saying the word house too many times. So instead, the author said it. Good job. Every day after that, they traveled as far as the horses could go, and every night they made camp in a new place. They crossed too many creeks to count and drove across long wooded bridges. They saw strange woods and even stranger country with no trees at all. I noticed the word they, that was meaning the whole family. And we were talking about the bridges too, weren't they? Could you say something about the bridge without using the words the bridge? All right, go ahead, Tyler. Oh, yes. It was a tall bridge. Yep, look at that. It went high above the creek. A creek is like a stream. Yep, flowing water. After many days and nights, they came to the Kansas prairie, a flat land with rippling grass and a great big sky. Well, now we know what a prairie is for sure because it told us right in the story. The wind blew Laura's straight brown hair and Mary's golden curls every which way. Can we make a sentence describing Mary and Laura's hair without saying Laura and Mary? Okay, let's see. Angie, do you want to talk about their hair? Okay, they had opposite colored hair. Good. We knew they were talking about Mary and Laura, but we use they instead of saying Mary and Laura. Soon Laura and Mary were tired of traveling with nothing new to look at. Poor Jack was tired too. At last Pa stopped the wagon and said, "We'll camp here a day or two." He unharnessed the horses, and they rolled back and forth and over until the feeling of the harness was all gone from their backs. Excellent. There it took the place of the horses. Looks like they finally got a break. They didn't have little places they could stop along their way, did they, that were already discovered by someone else? Nope, they had to make their own rest stops. Pa cleared a space in the prairie grass for a fire, and Laura and Mary helped Ma get supper. Pa brought water from a creek, and Ma mixed the water with cornmeal and salt and patted it into little cakes. She fried slices of fat salt pork in the iron spider. The cakes baked, the meat fried, and Laura grew hungrier and hungrier. Oh, okay, go ahead, ask a question, Daniel. What is an iron spider? Good question. I'm going to use a pronoun to answer you. It is a cooking, I want to say tool. I guess I could call it a tool. A cooking tool used to cook over hot coals. Look at that. See how it's called a spider? It has those legs hanging down. So they didn't need to build some type of cooking stove or a great big thing hanging over the fire because they wanted to be able to pack up quickly and keep moving. Good question, Daniel. And do you notice how I use the word it to describe the iron spider? All right, let's keep reading. At last supper was ready. Pa and Ma sat on the wagon seat, and Laura and Mary sat on the wagon tongue. Each of them had a tin plate and a steel knife and a steel fork. Ma had a tiny cup, and Pa had a tin cup. Oh, excuse me, I misread that. Ma had a tin cup, and Pa had a tin cup, and baby Carrie had a little one of her own. But Mary and Laura had to share their tin cup. See, look at that. They're making it work with what they have. Yeah, that reminds me of how a lot of us are probably having some takeout meals in our car. Have you boys and girls gotten to do that for a little treat? Have your parents said, come on, let's not cook tonight. We're going to go to the drive-thru and just sit in the car and eat. I know it's funny how special that can be when you can't go into a restaurant. And look at, they don't have a restaurant, but they have their own special meal. While they were eating supper, the prairie became dark and still, and soon it was past bedtime. Mary and Laura put their long nightgowns on, said their prayers, and crawled into their little bed in the wagon. You want to read it without the pronoun there? Oh, Capri, that sounds tricky, but we'll try it. While they were eating supper, the prairie became dark and still, and soon it was past bedtime. Mary and Laura put Mary and Laura's long nightgowns on. Mary and Laura said Mary and Laura's prayers and crawled into Mary and Laura's little bed in the wagon. Oh, that is hard to understand. I'm glad we have pronouns. The next morning, they all sat on the clean grass and ate pancakes and bacon and molasses. All around them, tiny birds were singing and swinging in their voices. Laura called to them, eat your breakfast, Laura, Ma said. You must mind your manners, even if we are 100 miles from anywhere. After everything in the camp was tidy, Pa went hunting and Laura and Mary went exploring. It was fun to run through the tall grass in the sunshine and the wind. There were huge rabbits and tiny birds everywhere, and little brown striped gophers. Mary and Laura wanted to catch a gopher to take it to Ma. Laura ran and couldn't catch one. They took some flowers to Ma instead of a gopher. Before long, the sun was low, and Pa was coming across the prairie. Laura jumped up and ran to him and hippity-hopped through the tall grass beside him. Here comes Papa with the meal for them. That night after supper, Pa's fiddle sang in the starlight. The large bright stars hung down from the sky, and Laura thought the stars might be singing too. Soon it was time for the little girls to be in bed, so Ma tied their nightcaps and tucked them into bed. Tomorrow they must be on their way again to find the new little house on the prairie. And there they go, on to cover many more miles. All right, boys and girls, today we found out how handy pronouns can be for helping us to speak and read smoothly.